Okay. All right. So today's session is going to be the continuation of where we left off in the last session. Okay. So we were doing flash security, and in flash security, we up till now what we have done is we have just based up the basic part of it, simply the configuration, and at this point we're able to create database and add a demo users, the admin part of it, right? And it was added directly when you start the application. Okay, now we will see how we can use the functions and methods provided by Flash Security, and how we can protect our routes. Okay, so how do we do that? All right, I'll just share my screen and I'll open the folder, last folder. One second. Okay, so I had shared this code in the instructors part. I mean, the code where we give you, right. So I have shared this code as Flash Security Part One, and I'll be continuing from this place only. So the next part that I'll be saving would be Part Two. Okay, so you have the entire code in Part Two, including the Part One code. It will be there in Part Two once this session is over. Okay, so now I will just start this particular code in VS Code, and so I'll just show you what codes we have written till now. Okay, so basically, if you see, there were some configurations that we did. All right, and I was most kind of explaining each and every configuration when we were coming onto it, right? So at this point, we know what security password hash is, security password salt is, what secret key is. Okay, we'll see what secret key exactly is doing now, but what it is doing, how it is doing, is something that we saw in the last session. And then the last part we are yet to see, right? Authentication token, how to use it. Okay, then we had two models, basically user and role, which is a presumption of Flash security that you have to create while using Flash security. That is the user model and role model, and these two models are connected with the relation many to many. Okay, so that's what we have done here. All right, and then okay, this is some explanation that I gave. Uh, in the routes.py, we do not have anything today till now, and in resource.py, we just initiated the API object. That's all we did. All right. Then in app.py, we did the configuration. I mean, we used the configuration that we have written in config.py, created this app object here, and this is something that we have created as and when the application is run. All right. So it basically what it does is it makes uses of data store, which is an API that is provided by Flash Security, and we can use it when we configure it, right? So we configure it here, and then we can use it. And how is this helping us? It is giving us some methods, some useful methods to create a role and find a role. Okay, the only one that we have used is find or create role. There are many others, but we will use only if we need them, right? At this point, we just need to see, okay, if there is a role created, it will just ignore it. If the role is not created with this credential, with this information, it will create one, right? So whenever you run this application, this code gets run, and then you have a admin also created. Okay, so till this point, we have these things there in our database. So if you see the database, we have the test admin, and then we have roles, the three roles added, and then we have the correspondence, right? So association of each one of those. Okay, what this basically means is the admin that we have created has all three roles. Okay, so he can be an admin, an instructor, and the student, right? And that is given, that can be seen here in app.py. In the roles attribute, we have provided basically the list of all the possible available roles in the database. Okay, so this is how we give roles to a particular user. All right, and then we run the application, and then we see this things getting this added to the database. Okay, now we will use it. Okay, so we will see how Flash security is helping us to get certain things. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll open now, since whatever we are going to do is going to be API, because as far as Macro is concerned, our backend is going to be mostly APIs, right? So we'll be creating certain APIs, and there are certain what do you say, default routes that Flash security provides us. Okay, so the whole idea of using Flash security is to log in a particular user, right? So there are certain routes like login and verify and things like that are generally given by default. It is given by Flash security to us. Okay, so we can directly use those routes. So you can see in the routes.py I have not defined anything. In the resource.py I have not defined any endpoint, but still we can use these endpoints. So that I will show you now. For that, what I'll do is I will open Postman, which is a API client, right? So we can make HTTP request for on to any resource with any method using this Postman. If you don't have Postman, you can use Thunder client, right? So it is one of the extensions of VS Code. Here, right? You can just download Thunder client and you can use it. So just give me a minute, let it load. So yeah, so you can just go through new request, and then here you'll see you can put in the URL here, mention the method and other things, right? Like things like headers, auth, body, etc. Okay, now I'll have to switch multiple times. That's the reason I'm not using this. There is no problem using this. It's just that I want to switch the screen and the Postman screen multiple times. That's why I'm using Postman. Okay, so you see here, this is yesterday's, leave it. It's my own. Okay, so what is it is very much the similar, very much same as what we are getting in this thing, Thunder client, right? So here, what I will use is basically this page, right? So I'll be providing the URL here. Okay, I'll be providing all the URLs here, and then I'll provide all the specified headers here. Okay, all the required headers here. Okay, so now you see, let us first run this application and see how it works. Okay, so I'll just run this application. We will have to first activate the virtual environment. So I'll just do this source dot env slash pin slash activate. Okay, so this is our virtual environment activated. Now we will run this application python 3 app dot. Okay, permission denied. See, generally this happens when I'm not sure any other application is working. But see, generally this happens when any other application is working in my system in on the same port, right? So if I see, generally the default port for Flask is 5000, right? So if any other application is running on the same port, then this problem might come. So I'm not sure which application is running. All right. So what we can do is maybe just change the port for this application. So I'll just write port equals to 5001. Okay, so I'll just use a different port and then try running. Okay, 501 is also used, is it? Okay, oh sorry, I should save it, right? Did I save the first one? 501 is also used. Which applications are running? I'm not sure. Give me a minute. Okay, so see, it started running in 5002 port. That is because 500, I mean 5000 and 5001 are somewhere used in my system. Okay, so I'll have to check that. Maybe, and then if this happens and if this is continuously happening, you can just restart your system and it will start working on 5000. So basically, you terminate all the working applications in the background. I'll have to check which application is working in my system. I'm not sure as of now, but as of now, what we need is this, right? So application should run. Now what I'll do is I'll go back to this Postman and I'll make a request. Okay, so I'll be doing HTTP slash colon slash slash 127.0.0.1, and I have to make sure that the port is entered correctly, right? So currently our application is working on 5002. So if I do this slash login, so we know that this endpoint is not there. Uh, okay, this endpoint is not there, but if I just send a get request, let's see what we get. All right, so it gives us a preview. It gives us something, right? There is 200 status. Okay, it did not throw 404, although the endpoint is not existing in our system. It gave us 200. Okay, but if I try to preview it, I'll see a login form getting, right? So this is a default login form that Flash Security provides. Okay, but we will not use it. The one specific reason for that is we will not be having any interface when we are using APIs, right? All of a sudden you have a different login form in between of your application doesn't look good, right? And secondly, the thing is all the connections that we are going to do or backend logic that we are going to write are going to be within API. So we don't want this. All right, this login form should be created with Vue. Okay, so it should be something that is running on the front end. Okay, but this is something that is provided by Flask. So Flask is assuming that we are using the same Jinja front end, and that is how it is doing. Okay, so this is not what we have to do. I'm just telling you so that it gives, so that you know that this is a valid endpoint and a valid URL for Flask security. But what we are going to do is that starts with post method. Okay, not the get method. So basically I'll be using the same endpoint slash login. Okay, but then what it takes is, there is something that is given in the documentation that you have to follow. It takes this parameter. Okay, so how do we give parameter? Giving question mark, right? So the parameter is include underscore auth underscore token. All right, so this is going to be our endpoint to actually log a user in. All right, and in the form of API. All right, now when I do a post method and go to this URL, definitely when I'm doing a post method, I am sending some data, right? So that data is basically going to be the credentials, very much similar what would have happened if I clicked on login, right? So if I click on login in any form, what happens? These credentials are taken to the backend with the post method. Okay, but we are going to use the API part of it, the API thing of it. So what is required in as far as Flash security is concerned is you go to login endpoint, okay, and then you give this parameter into dot token, and then you send a post request, and then the body you provide the actual data. All right, what is the data? The credentials of a particular user that you want to sign in or log in. Okay, so in our case, what is the credential of this user? Email and password, right? Email and password. So test one at the rate admin and password is 1234. Okay, so here I just provide those things as JSON. Okay, because obviously it is raw, but it is basically JSON, right? So here I'll be providing email. You don't provide username here. Okay, so Flash security works on email and password. So email is something that it uses to recognize the user. That is the reason the major credential that you send is going to be email, even if you have username. All right, and that is only sufficient. So if you have both email and username, you will use email than username. Okay, so email, and then I'll provide the email. So it is test1 at the rate admin.com. Okay, I'm sorry if the font is too small. I'm not able to zoom it. There's no option as of now. So I'll check and then see. Okay, so what I'm writing is in the JSON, I've written email and then test1 at the rate admin.com. Okay, ended it, and then the password. Password. Okay, and the password is 1234. All right, let's see. Password not provided. Password not provided. Why is it? I don't want this particular form. I want JSON. So when you do post method, you are expecting JSON. Okay.
Sir, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Let me see. That's 1234 only.
Okay.
Test1 at the rate admin. Email and password is 1234. Yeah, some problem. Same thing. See, so what it gave is it basically gave us this authentication token. All right. Now this is useful. This authentication token now has all your information, all the user information. Okay, all the user information including the, I mean, who has signed in, what is the password, and things like that, right? So basically, this authentication token is using something called as FS unifier, right? So that is something that we had stored in the last session, right? So that FS unifier, which in turn has our user information, is used to create this authentication token. All right. Now, why do we need this authentication token? There are two things. Two things happen. One is we got this authentication token. Second thing, if I go to cookies, you will see that a session has been added. Okay, and this has some information. Okay, so this session basically is you see that this session information again has our credentials, but this information is again encrypted, right? So this encryption is basically happening with the secret key. Okay, so when you provide the secret key, it mixes up every information and the secret key, and then encrypts it into something that cannot be retrieved back. Okay, so session is getting stored some like this. Okay, now once the session is stored in the browser or wherever you want it to be stored, uh, the first thing that happens is we can inform, or we can confirm that the user has logged in. Okay, if the user has logged in and the token is generated, this means the user has now been authenticated firstly, and second is based on this token, whichever role is provided or whichever role the user has, he or she can go to that endpoint with that role. Okay, is this point clear? I mean, we will see how that is happening, but when you log in, basically two things happen. The user information gets stored into the session, and you get this token, which again in turns has the user information, which kind of authenticates the user to use APIs which are protected. As of now, we have not created any protected API, but now but at this point, we can now go to any protected API with the help of this token. All right, so this is what has happened when you try to log in with post method. And you see, when you do the post method, you don't get a form and everything, you get a JSON, which is more relevant in terms of an API. All right, so now I can use it and log in meaning I can visit or get access to any other endpoint or the API resource. Okay, till this point, this thing is clear.
This
Just give me a
token
minute.
is generated with the help of that uh, what
With the help of
uh, I don't remember the name.
FS Unifier.
FS identifier.
Right,
And
so we have stored it here in the database, right? And it is something that gets stored by default. So see, basically what we give into the database, username and password, email and password, not even username. So this information is hashed and stored in the form of FS unifier in the database, right? Now whenever this user logs in, the FS unifier is something that is used to create or return this token to us. Okay, this is what is happening. Yeah, you were saying something?
this token
In
will
Go ahead.
remain the same every time we log in.
Yes, token will remain same. Unless and until you change the password or something, unless and until, see what happens is whenever you change any of these credentials, the FS unifier changes. Okay, if that changes, token will change. Otherwise, this remains same. This will change for different users. Okay, because obviously.
This email and password will be in the database, and this authentication token, where it will get stored.
It is not going to get stored anywhere. It is something, it is sent as a response from the flask security. Okay, now the why are we needing this token? Why do we need this token? To actually access the protected APIs.
Okay.
Okay, it's like basically, so you want to go to some place which requires a ticket. All right, so you will not be given entry unless you have a ticket. So what you have to do first, you need to go to the counter. Okay, so that counter is the place where you log in. Okay, once you say, okay, I want a ticket for this place, you are giving your credentials. Okay, the person gives you the ticket, and now you are eligible to go to any other place. Okay,
This
that
is
is what is
the
happening
one-time
here.
ticket.
Sorry.
This is the one-time ticket. Authentication token is one time or reusable.
It is reusable unless and until
You
the
change it.
email and password remains same.
Okay.
Okay, so every time you log in with this credentials, you'll get the same token for that user.
Okay.
And the cookie will change every time you log
Cookie, Yes, so it also has. I mean, see again, if you try to log in, I mean, when you save, when you log in, what happens is the credentials are still remaining the same, right? The secret key still remains the same, but cookies also use the time when they are created, right? So therefore, that time is going to be different. Hence, they keep on changing. Okay. So yes, in short, cookies will change. Okay. So this is basically my ticket to enter a restricted place. Okay, and how am I getting this ticket? Because I have made sure that I'm an authenticated user. Okay, so if I, let's say, go to try to log in with some other credentials which are not existing in my database, it should definitely not give me the answer, right? Okay, basically, see, firstly, what has happened is you can access this endpoint only when not logged in. Okay, so what has happened is we have this cookies, right? So it makes sure that it kind of says us that okay, there is some user that already has logged in. Okay, so you have to first log out that user to actually try with other credentials. Okay, let me just try this again. Yeah. So basically, what you have to do is, even if I'm trying to do it with some other credentials, it should not happen as such. But okay, so if I'm, let's say, trying, but what is happening? There is already an existing user which is using this particular session, right? So I need to first remove that user and then continue. Okay, let me try this once again. So what I'll do is I'll go to cookies. Okay, I'll go to this session. Okay, and then I will just sorry, I will just delete this information. Okay, then save it, then close this, and then delete session. Okay, everything is deleted now. Let me just try now. Yeah. So now what happens? Now it says that okay, it first saw that okay, is there a existing user that is already there in the session? No. Then it tried to log in this particular user. All right. Then when it tried to log in this particular user, what happened is this particular user does not exist, and hence it says specified user does not exist. All right. So unless and until I get a token, I may not be able to go to any other restricted area, which is an protected API. All right, so that is the reason a login is important. Okay, and that is what is making sure that the person is authenticated first thing, and secondly authorized to go to a particular API. All right, so login is important. Okay, so when you log in, it means that you are authenticated and authorized. It means that you have a token, and then you can go. Right? That is what we are trying to implement in our application. Are you getting this? Okay, so just
Yeah.
anybody cannot just come and get the access.
So,
Yeah.
so here, when we are generating this password and the code, so this is we are doing from the server side as the administrator for the user, correct?
No, no, no. Basically, see, this is what I mean. If you see, the credentials are for the admin only, right? So we are not doing anything as of now. We are just trying to log in, okay, and authenticate ourselves. Okay, I'm authenticating myself as a authenticated user of this application, and then once I am an authenticated user and I authenticate myself, I have this ticket which I got, right, that authentication token, which allows me to go to any other endpoint. We will see that. I'm just showing you that we have got the token. Now we will have to create such APIs that requires token to get into.
So,
Okay.
like in Mad1, we had created user and password in the SQLite from the backend. We had created one like create a listener for the music streaming app. In the
Mhm.
same way, if we create a user and we give this credential to the user, then when the person logs in, we are showing what actually happens inside the browser.
Yeah, so basically what happens is this is something that is provided by server, right? And the flash security is implemented on the onto the server. So what is happening? The any user who wants to sign in and get access to various endpoints of your application, he or she must be an authenticated user. For that, it should be a registered user first thing, and then should authenticate himself by providing right credentials. Right. So first I register myself. I give my credentials. We have not created that endpoint as of now to register ourselves. I'm just what we have done is we have pre-loaded a particular user by the name admin. Okay, we have just preloaded it. We have not created any endpoints that registers a user and then logs in. right? So what happens, just to for the sake of showing, what we have done is we have preloaded it. And obviously, I mean, if you are creating an application and has admin as super user, that admin should be created just like that when the application runs, right? It should not give any interface for the admin to log in or sign up, right? Anybody then will come in and sign up as admin. That is not what we want. We want only the admin to be created when your application is run or when the database is created for the first time, right? Then other users can come and sign in and sign up. Okay, that is what we will allow later. But as of now, what we want is admin should be there and admin should be authenticated. All right. So I created a user called admin. Okay, we has the credentials of admin, has password and everything, has some roles of admin. Okay, we will see how roles are helpful, helping us. But now once this is created, I'm just going to some predefined endpoints to log the admin into the application. All right. Once you log in, you will get the authentication token, and that authentication token can be used to get access to any other endpoint. If you don't have that, you will not be able, you will not be given access. Okay. All those things we'll see, and it will be more clear. Okay. All right. So I'll just continue. I will create. I'll just get the authentication token once again. All right. So I got the authentication token now. All right, I'll just keep it as is as of now because we don't need it as of now. But I'll just start creating the APIs now. Okay, I'll start creating the APIs. So let me go to resources. Can I do? Okay, let me do with the routes first. Okay, routes can also be taken as an API. So what I'll do is I will import. Let us import later. I want to create this route. Okay, at the rate app dot get slash admin. Okay, so slash admin is an endpoint. Define admin dashboard. Okay, admin dashboard, and basically it does nothing. It returns a string. It returns a string that has something. Welcome. You are once again welcome. So basically, what I want is I want the username here. You are in admin dashboard. Okay. So what I'm doing is I want this in the form of welcome username. You are in admin dashboard. Okay, and this should get replaced with whoever logs in. Okay, so as of now we just have admin. So when we log in with admin credentials, it should say welcome admin. You are in admin dashboard. Do we have a username for admin? Let us check the database. We just have email. Fine. Just have email, not an issue. So what it should show, it should give you welcome email admin at the rate whatever it was test1 at the rate admin. You are an admin dashboard. Okay, if there is any other user, it should show welcome other user. You are in admin dashboard. Okay, so that is what is going to happen. All right. Now, how do I bring this? First question is how do I bring this username based on whatever or whoever is signing in? Okay. All right, because when I want to access this, I will not be, so you see this admin, right? So it does not take something like this slash username. Okay, it does not take this, it does not take any endpoint value through endpoint or value through URI. It does not take that. Okay, and also we are not providing any credentials because you are going to admin endpoint after you sign in. So credentials are provided only when you sign in, right? So that is what is happening. Okay, so how do I get this information? Okay, so this information is taken from something called as current user. Okay, current user. This current user is what is called as proxy. Okay, I've not written the spelling. This current user is what is called as the proxy of the logged in user. Okay, and this current user, this is a this object is provided by Flask security. All right, so there are two things that I need to import here. So what I'll do is, firstly, you see this, I've used app. Okay, so to use this application in routes.py, what I have to do is I'll have to import it as app, right? So what I'll do, from Flask import current app as app. Okay, so this is something, this current app is something that Flask provides. Okay, Flask provides, which can be used in any other module other than the app itself. Okay, or other than the place where the app is defined. Okay, so if I don't do that, I'll have to import from app import app, which is going to have circular dependencies, right? Why? Because if you see the app.py, it is actually importing, at some point I'll have to import that routes. Okay, for these routes to work, I'll have to import all these routes into app.py. Okay, so I cannot import app here. Okay, so that is the reason I use this current app. Okay, which allows us to work this as same way. Okay, that is the reason I've given alias as app, so that I want to use app here. Okay, so this is the first thing that I imported from Flask, import current app as app. And second thing that I'll import is from Flask security, import current user. Okay, so what is current user? How is this? How is current user getting stored? So what it does is, whichever user gets logged in, okay, whichever user gets logged in, all its information, whatever information is stored in the models. For example, the email of the user, the password of the user, active nature of the user, whether the user is active or not, and roles of the user. Okay, all these things are stored in this current user object. Okay, current user object, and it is basically nothing but a dictionary. Okay, so it will be something like this: email and value, password, value, things like that. All right, and I can directly access it across pages. Okay, that is the reason I don't have to pass on admin anywhere. Sorry, I don't have to pass on that actual value anywhere in the endpoint. I can directly use it. Okay, why? Because this value was available to me, to this endpoint, to any other endpoint. Okay, and where is this information coming from? This information is coming from session. Okay, because session is independent of pages, right? Whichever endpoint you go to, doesn't matter, the session is stored in the browser. Okay, so doesn't matter which endpoint or which page I render on the browser, finally the information can be retrieved from the session. And how do I retrieve that user information from the session? Using this current user proxy. Okay, why do we call it proxy? Because this is not the actual user object, this is just a copy of the actual user object stored in the session. Okay, any question in this? We'll see how we use it. Okay, now I want to use this, so what I'll do is I will just use format string, okay, of Python, and here I'll provide this curly braces. Okay, and here I can put in whatever value I want. So what I'll do, current user, and of current user I want to print the email. So current user dot email. Okay, as I said, this is an object, so you can access its attributes using dot. Okay, so current user dot email, we can access it. Okay, now what I'll do is I will go back again to this, meaning this is if I have token, this means the user is there added to the session, right? So session has. If I go to cookies, I'll see that the session information is there. This same session information will be used to get that user admin there. So what I'll do, I'll again go back. I'll do a new endpoint search, which will have. I've just used the shortcut from there. So it is having this base URL only, but then it will have admin. Okay, and we'll do the get method. Let's see what we get. Pasted URL was not found. Fine. Hash admin. Okay, why did we not get this? This is because I created route so many here, but I did not import it here. So they are not still clubbed with the app.py. So what I'll do, from application dot routes import. So there are going to be many that I'm going to import. Therefore, I'll just put star. Okay, let us save this. Now let us do this. All right, so you see, welcome testadmin.com, you are in admin dashboard. All right, so how am I getting this information? This information I'm getting from the session. All right, with the proxy current user. Okay, but the problem is I mean, okay, let's see that later.
I use something called guser, g.user, my project. Is it something similar to current user?
Okay, what user?
G dot G.user.
G, yeah, so you are using sessions.
Okay.
Okay, you are using the same session. Yeah, very pretty much the same. Okay, so basically, if you want to, so what we are using is authentication that to token based. Okay, then there is something called as session based authentication, which is done in two ways. One is by using directly using the session, Flask session, first thing, and second is by using Flask login. Okay, so in session, when you use directly the session of Flask, you will be importing it as G. Okay, but when you use Flask login, you will have the same object there also, current user. So you can use it in Flask login also. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much similar. Okay. Okay. Now what I will do is I'll go back to my routes.py. Okay. Go back to my routes.py.
Current user works only with Flask security.
Current user works with Flask security and Flask login. Okay, those two. Because see, if you see, it is imported from there, right? It is an existing again an API which is a data store part, right? So I can use it directly when I import. Okay. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll just try. I'm just experimenting this thing. So if I let's say delete the session, let us delete the session, give it everything, and let us reload this. Let me. Okay, some attribute error because it is trying to get you email you current user dot email and everything, which is not there, right? That is the reason you see here also. This is the actual error, right? Welcome current user dot email. You are in admin dashboard. Anonymous user object has no attribute email. Okay, I just showed you to make sure that this current user it was getting retrieved from the session. Okay, that's what I said, right? So it uses session to retrieve this current user object. Okay, and from there it gives all the information. Okay, now but let's say what I want to do is I don't want to use that anything. I mean, I just want to just randomly give a string. Okay, welcome, you are in admin dashboard. Okay, let me save this. Okay, now let me go to that and see, now we are getting this, right? Now welcome, you are in admin dashboard. Okay. Now the thing is, my question is to you. The way I have written this, welcome, you are in admin dashboard. It did not have anything to do with the user, right? It did not have anything to do with the user. Okay, because I was not using that current user or the user object anywhere within this my endpoint. So if it does not have anything to do with the user, can I retrieve anything else apart from this statement? Anything else in the database? Can I retrieve that? For example, my database has this information or this table called user credentials. Okay, it has, let's say, this user credentials, and the model name is user cred dot query dot all. Okay, can something like this be done? See, what I'm trying to say is when I use that current user proxy in my endpoint, it threw some error. Okay. Okay, this means it was expecting the user to exist in the database, sorry, in the session. This means it was expecting the user to be signed in. All right. But then what I did, I removed that current user thing from my endpoint. Okay. And then I deleted the session and then I again retried. So now what I've done is when I use this statement, I have removed that dependency of user depending on the session, right? Or existing in the session. Okay, this means if it does not matter that the user is there in the session or not, it does not matter the user is logged in or not. Are you getting what I'm saying? If it does not matter the user is logged in or not, can you say this API is safe? Anybody can come in and get these credentials, right? Are you getting this?
Yes, sir. Any table can be accessed.
Any table can be accessed. Any existing table that does not require user information, I mean current user structure to be used, I can just retrieve it from there and then uh, throw it here, right? For example, I don't want to go that way, but let's say if I create a model here, store some very important information like bank account, let's say, right? And bank account does not have anything to do with this current user. What can I do? I can retrieve it and then just show it, right? And if I do that, for example, what I do is I'll just return this information.
Anyhow, current user will be there in the session, no, sir?
No, current user. So that's what I'm saying. When I use this endpoint,
Oh,
when I use
directly
this
typing in the address bar you are saying.
address, yes, that's
Okay,
what I'm
okay,
saying.
okay, okay.
Okay, so let's say if I do something like this, let me go to the browser and check. It's http colon slash slash 502 and our endpoint was admin, right? Okay, so see, I got the information directly without myself having to log in. Okay, so this is what is unprotected route. Okay, this is an unprotected API, and this is what we were doing till now in all entire of the MAD one. Until now, what we have done is we have created endpoints which were unprotected. All right, I can return this is string. I can return JSON also. Right, so I can just write something like this, because assuming that this is an API, I can return something like this also, right? Bank account and then the value. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is, even if the user is not logged in, okay, and by any reason you're not using this current user, and forget about this current user also. Let's say that is not important. But I have certain routes which all the routes that I'm going to create, all the APIs that I'm going to create will not, will not always depend on this current user. It will only depend on current user if I'm retrieving a logged in user's information. But that is not that I'm worried about. I want to retrieve everybody's information because I'm trying to hack the site. All right. So what is happening here? I can retrieve any other information without login. Okay, without logging in, and that's how my API is not protected. Okay, and this is what we created till now, right? We did not work on the protection and everything. But then, how do I protect it even when I'm not using things like current user? Okay, and this is the essence of flash security. Okay, this is where we'll see how flash security is helpful. Okay, so one thing that we'll do is
What if you say if current user, then give the return statement? If current user,
no, but see, all the admin, why we will need current user? I mean, all the endpoints might not need current user, right? For example, I have this endpoint, right? So if you don't, if I just give it a name, something like this, get all accounts. Okay. So why would I need current user, right? So it is unnecessary using current user. There is a better way of doing it. I mean, it uses the current user in the session only, but there is a better way of doing it. How do we do it? Is we protect this route using the decorators that Flash Security provides. Okay, what are those decorators? And see, I mean, till now what we have done is we have not used that token. Okay, if current user, okay, but what if, let's say, if you are seeing this, if current user, so if I add this, if current user, so what is the threat with this? Tell me, what is going to happen? If somebody else is logged in, I can still get the information, right? Because the current user, it is just checking current user exists or not. It is not checking whether I am authorized or not, whether I am authenticated or
current
not.
user and current user dot role equal to admin.
Yeah, so all those things we have to do, right? So that's what. So you can do it in the form of code, but there is a better way of doing it to completely protect the endpoint API, and that too How do you want to use it? You want to use it only when the user provides token, otherwise no. Okay, because token is something which is well, very good, very nicely encrypted, right? So nobody can just track it and get it from somewhere. Okay, so unless and until you log in, unless and until you are authenticated and authorized to go to a particular endpoint, this means unless and until you have a token, you cannot go to an endpoint. That is what we're trying. That is how we're trying to protect, right? Okay, if you are going to use a logic here, there will be one or the other loophole to get into it. But if I'm trying to protect this endpoint only when the token is provided, then what I'll do is, so I imported current user, right? So I will need that current user. So I will just import current user because I want to get back to the way I was doing before. Okay, anyway. And the other thing that I will do is import is something called as auth required. Very similar to login required in Flask login, right? If you remember this. Okay, so we were there. We did when we did in Mad when we did Flask login, we had things like login required. All right, but here we are having things like auth required. All right, and how do we use it? We'll just use it here, not here. Here. Okay, so we will write at the rate auth required, and what kind of authorization are we talking about? Token based. So we'll provide that we will need token based authentication. So there has to be there has to be authorization, and the token must be provided to so as to get to this particular endpoint. Okay, now let me save this. Okay, 1 second, something happened.
Now we don't need current user, right?
Yeah, don't we don't need current user. I'll just remove this. Let us save this. Hmm. Some reason the ports are getting utilized. I don't know.
Since you opened the same port in the browser, another browser, I think.
It's not about opening, it's about running, right? So backend I can run. It is what I'm expecting is, I don't know, some issues at this end, because let's, yeah. Okay, let me change this port again. Change the port again at the backend. Yes. Yeah, so some issue, I mean, I'll have to restart the system, but I don't want to do it in the middle of session. So I'll just do this workaround. Okay, so I'll just have to keep on changing this from 5 to 3. Okay, now see, if I try to get, what it gives me, you must sign in to view. Okay, I don't want this. 1 second. Session.
Sir,
Yeah,
so the cookie is a file that keeps the user information. So
yes.
is it something that remains the same? So if I let my cookie to not expire indefinitely, then it
Hmm.
will stay the same, or it will, like, why I'm asking this is because I've heard that cookies track your browsing habits and things. So will
Yeah,
it keep
so
on
see,
adding on the
basically,
file? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, see, so what happens is basically cookies are something that not only stores user information, but it stores some other things also. For example, and see, why is it there? It is because, let's say I go to a shopping application, okay, e-commerce application, and uh, you go to that application, and it's not that you buy anything and everything, right? You have a very specific taste on what you want to get. For example, I use one shopping application only to buy sandals or footwears. Okay, so what happens next time I go to that particular shopping application, the application should by itself suggest me some other footwears. Okay, So what is happening? It is not only tracking my information, my credentials, but it is also tracking my habits. What are the things that I like and dislike about the application, or what are the things or categories that I try like to search more. All right. So cookies kind of store that. So this is something that the browser will keep in mind and keep sharing here. Okay. So whenever I go to a particular, I go to that same application, shopping cart application, what happens? The browser will obviously share the response. I mean, send the response of the application, but along with that, browser will generate those cookies and share it to the not the browser, server will generate those cookies, because server has been tracking what kind of endpoints I'm going to, what kind of products I'm searching for. All right, so all those information will be sent by the server and it is used by the browser. Okay, so cookies information will kind of help me, help the application to guide where I want to see more, and kind of in turn improves my user experience, right? So I don't have to start all the way from the scratch, from going to products and then into categories of footwear and then into sandals. It directly gives me some suggestions on sandals. Okay, so cookies, some information might be important. I mean, some information is very specific to user, but some information, for example, see, this person likes sandals. What is so confidential about it, right? So some information may not be that confidential, and hence is sent by the server. So cookies are not that confidential. The session information is confidential, and that is the reason it is kind of encrypted.
Sir, so this cookie that you showed on Postman, it only
Mhm.
had like your username and password
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. In our case, it is only the user credential. That's
yeah,
all.
and it was like created by this 127 dot 0.0.1. So this cookie belongs to this website. So you go to an e-commerce website, they will create another cookie. But
Yes,
will they be that e-commerce website be able to access the cookie created by this website? Are the cookies private to the website, or
yes,
all
yes,
cookies accessible to everyone?
yes. No, no, they are private, because that is the very reason why we are encrypting the cookies, right? Only the application only the application that has generated the cookie should get the information from there. Okay, because
So login time is also stored in the cookie. Login time
login time is also.
stored in the cookie you said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's what, right? So when cookies are, I mean, when you said there was a question, right? Will cookies change? So that's what I said, right? Cookies might change because they also store the time of creation, and generally cookies are created when you log in. So that's why it is a login time mostly. Okay, so they might change because they store some information which is static and some information that keeps on changing. Okay, for example, my choices change, cookies will change.
So is it possible to keep cookie of one particular trusted website? Like for example, I trust itm.ac.in and I want to keep its cookie forever when I clear the cache while closing the browser. But I want to clear all the cookies of everyone else. Is that possible to just
Yeah, you
keep
can do that. There is something called as expiration time of the cookies. Okay.
when I clear browsing history, I usually clear everything from the time, from the like everything, not like last hour or something. But I want
Okay.
to keep the item address cookie because I don't want to log in every time and again. Is it possible? Because this cookie I can keep, but other cookies I can delete.
Yeah, it is. It is. It might be possible, but at this point, not sure how we are going to do it with Flask.
No, no.
Okay, might be possible, definitely. If I want to, let's say, retrieve only specific cookies and keep them with me, firstly I can change the expiration date. If I set it to, let's say, infinity, it will be there and they will not get auto deleted, first thing. But if I do this manual deletion of cache, everything, all the things will go. So how do I store that? How do I still retrieve that is something that you have to look at, but possible, might be possible. Okay. No, I'm not. I'm that we can see later, but I'm more worried about this response, right? So I should get, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go to admin with get endpoint. Okay, but it redirects me to login, which is the get of login, right? I showed you the what happens when you go to get and into the login. Okay, so that is what it gives me, and it is saying you must sign in to view this resource, which is again right, because see, the cookies information is not there. This means there is no credentials and anything, but I'm trying to check this, but there is nothing, right? Uh, it should give me some other things. Ouch. Doing a get method, that is fine. Okay, let me delete these cookies because I want to be signed in. I'm expecting a JSON which says that you are not. Okay, one second. Basically, if you see what is happening here, why are we getting that form is, see, I'm trying to get admin, okay, and it is redirecting me. The flash security by itself is redirecting me to get of login, okay. And what do we get to when you do a get method of login? You get that form, right? And then you go to slash admin. But this is not what I want. I don't want to go it. I want it to go here. I want to work it. Want it to work it as an API. Okay. How do we do that?
So is it possible it is because of a system issue that because the ports are getting blocked for you, like
Uh,
1002?
Not really, not really. I mean, see, port is only to run the application. This is some default behavior of Flash security, which is getting overridden, right? I want to send get of admin, and it should send me a response based on the sessions, based on auth required, based on token. Okay, but it is redirecting me because it does not have that information. So it should not redirect me. It should give me a JSON. Okay. Okay. What I'll do is let us first log in. Just let us try the login part first. Do I have that? Yeah, I have it here. Okay. Post hash include token everything, but I just change the port because it was 5003. Send this. All right. Okay. So we have this token. All right. Let us see the state of it first. So we have this token, right? Now what I'll do is I'll use this token. I'll use this token and use this endpoint, which is the other endpoint slash admin, right? Now, how will I provide this token to this particular request? Okay, this is where I will use this. So if you go to config.py, this thing, right? Security token authentication header. So what is the header that I provided here? Authentication token, right? This means whenever I want to use token, I should give this text, but selected string as the header key. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll go to headers. Okay. And then in the key, I think in the hidden it is there or not? Not there, right? So in the key, I will provide authentication token, the same string that I provided there. Okay. Authentication token, right? Authentication token, and the value will be the actual token. Okay, so the token is now going as a part of header to this request, and you see there is no user information that is going, right? Let me check this. All right, so now you see this endpoint is accessible, right? So what is happening here? I have protected my API in a sense that only if you have token, that is you are logged in successfully. So first I have logged in myself here. The information is there in the session and everything. Then I will use the API. If I directly go, it will give me, I mean, it will give me the default form. You must sign in first. All right, but that behavior we can change later. That is not an issue. Okay, but this is what we are going to get. Okay, now we have protected our API, but there is again a problem. Okay, what is the other problem is everybody who is admin, or there is no role-based access control as such. Okay, there is access control, but there is no role-based access control, right? So we will do that now. Okay. How do we do role-based access control? We'll go to my app.py, app.py. Okay, resources, routes.py. Okay, and very similar to how we have imported auth required, what we'll do is roles required. We'll import roles required. Okay, roles required. All right, and in the roles required, the way we have added auth required, I will do the same thing, right? Roles required, and within this I will provide all the roles that are that I want this endpoint to be accessible to. Okay, so first thing is admin. I want this endpoint admin dashboard to be accessible only to admin. I can do it the comma separated. For example, if I wanted to be accessible to admin and the one who's having both the roles, admin and instructor, then I can give a comma separated value. Okay, but I just want whoever is admin should be able to access it. Okay, let us try this now. So I'll save this. Okay, then what I'll do is I will go to this post thing. Okay, post thing, and then I will do the admin. So I should have another user first because then I'll have to show you, right? But okay, let us see. Okay, okay, that is already there. So I'll go to my this endpoint and then I'll see that it is working fine. Okay, no problem with that. But let us see how it is, where it is helping us. So let me go to app.py and add another user. Okay, add another user. .py. Okay, we will be using the same thing, this only. Just copy. Paste it. Okay, but this time I just want to add a student. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just change this test2 at the rate user.com. Okay, similarly test2 at the rate user.com. Hash password, okay, leave the password as it is, but here I will just provide roles as student. Okay, every time the roles goes, it is going to be the list. Even if there is one element that you're trying to provide, it is going to be list. Okay, let me just check the indentations. Okay, so if not app.security, if you don't find a user with this email, just create one. Okay, let us see this. Okay, save. Let me check. Yeah, so you see that the second user is added, test2 at the rate user.com. All right, test2 at the rate user.com. Now I will check with user. Okay, so I'll go to the first endpoint again, and let us delete the cookies because it will not allow us to again log in, right? So I'll go to the session and delete it. Okay, so delete it. Now what I'll do, I'll change this credentials. It was test2 at the rate user.com. Password was same. All right, let's send this. All right, so you see now this authentication token that I've got, this token is specific to user. Okay, so user is now user meaning the student. Okay, now student is authenticated. Okay, the student exists in the database. I have logged in. So student is authenticated because I got the authentication token. But is the student authorized to go to this particular endpoint? Okay, let us check. So we'll have to change the authentication token, right? We have to change it to what we got for student. Okay, forbidden. So what it does is it does not allow you to go to that particular endpoint. Okay, had it been admin, it will allow. If it is student, it will not allow. Okay, so what is happening now? We are having a role-based access control. So first we have authentication. A particular user can first log in, get the token, but then now we also have authorization. Okay, that okay, you are logged in, you are authenticated. Okay, but where do you have access to this endpoint? No, right? So what I can do is to be able to access. Yeah, somebody was speaking. Nobody? I thought. Okay, so I will first make an endpoint that is accessible to this particular user only. So how do I do that? App.get. Okay, then we'll do /student. All right. Obviously, there is auth required, but there is roles required also. Okay, and then this will be changed to student. Student. All right, and then I will just create. Mostly, I'm creating the same thing, right? So I'll just copy it here. Okay, anyway, let me write it from the beginning. Define student dashboard. Student dashboard. Okay, and then I will return a JSON. I return a JSON where I'll write user user second, user current user dot email. Okay, just to check who is trying to sign in or who has actually signed in, just to verify that. All right, and what was the other thing? Okay, just anything user and then
Password.
just leave it. Password. Password will be hashed, so nothing will be very clear from there. But anyway, okay, let us save this.
And we have role, no?
Role
That.
we have, right? Okay. Roles. Current user dot roles. Okay, something. Oh, forgot the comma. Now there is a problem. Will my application rerun with the same code? No. I'll have to change this. Some issue with this. I'll have to just restart the system and it will start working again. But I think this is something which happens generally with WSL. I've never seen this when I'm running in a normal shell. But when you do this with WSL, this happens. I don't know. Okay, started running. Don't know what the issue is. I'll just anyway. So how if this thing comes to you, restart the system. It will work. Okay. So now I have a user and everything. What I'll do is first just change the port and log in again. You only okay. So I mean the login is already there, so I'll not do that. I004 student and let me send it. Okay. Object of the type role is not JSON serializable. Okay. Okay. Why is it? Why are we getting this? Object of the role is not JSON serializable.
Roles is a list, I think.
Yeah, but list is JSON serializable.
But
Right?
the roles
It
is
is
the
a
object.
list.
Roles
Yeah,
is the
but the
object.
problem is it is list of objects.
Yes, it's a list of.
Okay, it is list of objects. List is JSON serializable, but what it is holding is roles object. So you cannot directly write this. Okay, we can change this. What I'll do is I'll go to routes. Okay, and then instead of just writing this current user dot roles, we will iterate through it. Okay, so what we can do is we can do something like this. Uh, roles equals to role for role in just remove it from here, current user dot roles, and basically what we want to do is uh, so I'm trying to use list comprehension and I want to store it as a in the form of list, right? So I'm trying to do it in the single line.
Role dot name.
Sorry, yeah, role dot name, but this will still not work because I need to iterate and store it in the form of list, right?
Enclose everything in the. Square
in
brackets.
square brackets. Is it? Let us try this. Okay, sorry, one second. So this roles must be roles. Roles must be roles. Student, right? Let us see. Okay.
Port has to be changed.
Yeah, port has to be changed. Okay. Right. So you see now that we are getting this. We are getting this from the test2 user. Okay. Now what if I put in the value of admin here? What will happen? Let us see that. Okay. So 505. Sorry, 505. Okay. Same thing. And here I'll just put it as test1 at the rate admin. Okay. Test1 at the rate admin. Send it. Okay. Just delete the cookies. Send it. Okay, we are getting this token. So this token is for the admin, right? What if I went here and replace this with the admin's token? What should I get? Will I get unauthorized?
Yeah, since the role required is not defined for admin.
Okay,
Admin
that's
has
it.
student, right? Admin has student in it.
Yeah, so we will still get answer because see, what is this endpoint asking me? This endpoint is asking me that the person who's trying to log in, sorry, person who's trying to get to this endpoint should have role student. Okay, and what are the roles for student? All the three. So admin also has this student role. All right, that is the reason it is accessible to admin also. Okay, and which is intuitive, right? I want admin to have access to every other endpoint. Okay, I mean, it would not be good that if an admin is not able to go to a particular student's dashboard and see what the problem is, right? So as an admin, I should be able to have access to each and every one. Therefore, whenever you create admin, that's what I did. Whenever I created admin, I added all the existing roles for that admin. Okay. So if you see, you are getting access to this endpoint even if you're typing student. But the problem is, sorry, the thing is, you have the token possess information of the admin, and admin has authorization to go to student's dashboard. That is the reason you have access to this. Okay, but other way around will not be possible that we have seen, right? So if I do admin and put in here the token for student, it will not allow. Okay, so that is how we are having role-based access control. Okay, but there is something called as what we have used is roles required, right? Roles required we have used. So roles required means, for example, if I do something like this, student instructor. Okay, let me not do it here. Let me do it here. Okay, instructor. Okay, you see the difference what is happening now. Let me check if I've written what I want to show correctly.
It will still work, right?
Yeah, yeah. Let me just check. Okay, let us not put it here. Let's put it here. Instructor. Okay, and let us see.
Now it will not work.
Okay. Now I want to go with the student. Okay, so I'll do test2 dot user. Sorry, test2 at the rate user. Okay, and before I click on send, what I'll do is I'll delete the cookies because I have the session information of admin. Okay, now let me send. I'll get authentication token for student. Okay, now I'll go here, I'll go to the endpoint of student. What do you think? Will it come or not?
It will not come because
Okay,
student
why do
has
you
only
think so?
student. student has only student access role. The logged in user has only student access, student role. He does not
Okay.
have the this instructor role. That's why we will not be able to access.
Okay.
Will
But
it be
the but the
condition
student is there, no?
But yes, he
and
should have
condition
both
or
student and
condition?
instructor. He should have both student and instructor.
Yeah. So it is an and condition. Okay. You don't have permission. So basically, it is and. When you say roles are required, whatever roles are put in here, the person who is trying to log in should have both the role, both the meaning, whichever roles you have put here, they should have both the roles. As of now, our student only has a student role, does not have instructor roles. Okay, so roles required has and condition. I'll just write. Okay, but then what if I want any of this to be accessible, right? So there is something called as roles accepted. Okay, accepted. I'll just import it from here. Roles accepted. Okay, so this roles accepted is something that has or condition. So even if instead of, let's say, I do accepted here, I should not change that because I don't want to ruin the code. Okay, I'll just comment this everything and then add it in the new line. This has or condition. Okay, and what is this? Roles accepted. Accepted. Okay, let us save this. Okay, now let us try. Yeah, so now it gives, right? So let me just correct it. Roles student. So roles accepted has or condition. Whatever you provide, the person who is trying to log in should have any one of the given roles. And when you have roles required, the student who's trying to student meaning the user who's trying to log in should have all the specified roles.
Why
Okay,
roles
so
is
it
coming
becomes,
before?
yeah.
Why roles is coming before user, sir, in the
Why roles is coming?
before user in the answer
Sorry, I'm not getting your question.
in the
Roles is coming before the user in the return page, he is asking.
See that generally this JSONs are written with alphabetical attributes. Okay, so let's say if you have something called as email at the bottom, you want if you write something like this, email current user dot email. Okay, email is already there, right? Password, password. So what should be the order? ABCD, I don't know. Let us check. Yeah, so P is on the top. So password, role, and then user. PQRSTUV, right? So it generally orders it into ascending order because then see what happens is this is a very small JSON, very small JSON. I'll just show you if I have it. If I have, I'll show you one of the APIs that I'm using generally. Okay, my application should run for that. One second. Yeah, so you see this output. This is just an API that I've been using for some other project. So if you see, all the things here are, so many things that is coming. So in order to, pinpoint properly, if let's say if I want to get something from let's say subscribers URL on this, so it becomes easy to easy to get because they are arranged in alphabetical orders. Okay, here I don't know what thing they are using, but it starts with I, right? So I think they are using some specific sequence in which the thing should appear. Okay, but generally if you do it here in case of flask restful or simply sending it as a JSON, the JSON will automatically get ordered in alphabetical order. Okay, so in that sense, okay. Okay, so you see, are you trying to get how we are, using Flash security to, you know, firstly to authorize a particular user, and then, sorry, firstly to authenticate a particular user, get the token, and then with the help of that token, be able to send to that user to only authorized endpoints, right? Any doubt till this point? Okay, so now when you want to implement in your project, what you'll have to do is you will definitely have this user and role and user role models created, because you're creating this user and role tables for sure in case of flash security, and then all your relevant model with respect to your project will be starting from here, right? So you have to mention everything here and then do the other things. Okay. Now what I will do is, I was thinking whether to do it or not. Basically, this is what we need from Flash security, because we should be able to, in the routes, we should be able to create APIs that are, protected and authorized. So if let's say if you go to resource and you create, you create APIs with the help of Flask RESTful, the same thing will be followed. It's just that when you start, for example, how do we create an API set of APIs in Flask RESTful? Let's say something like this, right? User API. Okay, and then you do the resource implement, inherent the resource. Then all the method names start with the actual method names, right? All the method name, meaning the function that you're going to create here, start with the actual HTTP verb name. So, for example, def get. This will create a get method. So, whenever a person triggers get method, this will be clubbed with, or this function will get triggered, right? And then you have self, and then if required you provide arguments. Okay, here between this, so when you want to particularly, let's say if you want to protect this endpoint, you will use auth required like this, auth required like this. Okay, then provide token, and here at the bottom you will provide roles required, and then you provide roles. Okay, so every endpoint will be protected like this. Okay, so you just decorate it with here, and obviously you need to import these two here from Flash security. Import auth required and roles required. Okay, that is how you create the endpoints. Okay,
Where is the
so
token stored?
any doubt till this point?
The token actually we have
Yeah.
stored it as authorization token, authentication token. Hello.
So that I'm not able to hear your voice clearly actually.
That token which you have used
Huh.
in the
Token. Yeah.
auth required.
Okay.
Uh, so that token is stored where? I mean, authentication token variable it is stored.
Yes, yes. You see, I mean, how is it? See, the first thing is it is not stored anywhere unless you explicitly store it. Okay. So what I'm saying is, what happens is when you go to this endpoint, the login endpoint. Okay. This is the response that you are getting. Okay. This is the response you are getting. Okay. Now, when you are getting this as a response, you will uh, I mean, I've just copied it from here, right? I've not stored it anywhere. I just copied it from here, and then I went to the second endpoint that I want to store, that I want to go to, and then I provided this key called authentication token, and then did this. Okay, I just provided the value here.
That's what I'm saying, sir. You have stored it as authentication token, but
Authentication token, yes.
you are using it as token. That's why I
No,
asked.
so no, 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 no. This okay. See, this does not mean I'm using the variable. What happens is auth requires has three basically three ways in which how you want to specify what mechanism you are using for authorizing, okay, or for what mechanism you are using for authentication. Okay, so there are three possible values. One is token, the other one is session, okay, and the third one is called as basic. Okay, so these are three predefined values that is coming from the documentation. Okay. When I say token, it only means that I'm using token based authentication. Okay. This means that it is expecting token from the headers, which should be provided from the header. Okay. And now what should I put, where it should look exactly? It should look at the key that I'm providing in the config.py. Okay. So this is where it is looking. When I say token, it will search for this config. It will look for this. Okay. This means that the token that the endpoint is expecting should be stored somewhere in this variable. Okay, in the headers. And therefore you see in the headers, I provided authentication token. Okay. If I change this to let's say auth token or simply keep it token, I can use token there. Okay, so this value or this key that I'm putting here does not depend on this where exactly, yeah, this does not depend here. Okay, roles required should be as it is, the name of the role should be provided, but the token, these are predefined values of what mechanism we are using, predefined values of mechanism. Okay, I'll just put it in bracket. So the three predefined values are token, session and basic. Okay, so this does not have anything to do with the actual token value. This only mentions that okay, I want to do authorization with the help of token based authentication. That's all. Okay, where it will take value from the authentication token key that I've given, and that is coming from the this thing. So if I'll just show you, if we go to the documentation, okay, fast security, and then so if you go to token authentication, what you'll see is this, right? So okay, let me zoom in. At least this can be zoomed. Okay. See the session based alternative token. Okay, one second. I'll go to the API from there. Because basically this auth required and everything is coming from the data store API. So that is where we'll go. Okay. It's very difficult to find. One second. Yeah. So you see auth required, all right, auth required, and it has given a use case. Okay. So what it does is auth required token session. Okay. So you see auth method. So what are the specific methods we are providing? There are specified mechanisms. What are these mechanisms? Token, basic, and session. All right. So it does not depend on. So we are not saying that I'm going to provide token here. Okay. Don't understand. Okay. Don't have this understanding that the token, that the long string is going as an argument to this method. No. What is going as argument? The mechanism that I'm going to use for authorization. What is the mechanism? The predefined three mechanisms. One of the three we put, generally token. We'll not use session here because for session we have an explicitly created framework called flask login. All right. I mean, in fact, here also it says to use session-based authentication, use flask login. All right. So generally you will see auth required and then you put token. Okay. It is as a mechanism. Okay. All right. Any other query?
In the session, the current user has what are the key value pairs?
Everything that is there in the models, user model.
Oh,
Okay, so that's what I said, right? It is a proxy. What I mean by that, for example, if I retrieve a user model, sorry,
another copy of user model.
yeah, that's all. So for
Okay.
example, if I use user one equals to user dot query dot get, user dot query dot get one. Okay, so let's say there is a user with primary key one. So what will happen? The user one will be retrieved, or the user model user entry that has primary key one will be retrieved and stored in this object. So now this variable user one will start acting as a proxy for a user object. All right. So then I can access every attribute of that particular user model, writing something like this: user one dot anything. Right. So all the attributes that are there, email, ID, password, FS unifier, active, roles will be there. Okay, so everything that is there in the user model can be accessed using current user. Okay, so very similar to this, I can directly write current user dot anything from the model. Okay, I can get ID, password, email, everything.
Okay.
Okay, so this is basically it for Flash security. I stopped in the last session because I don't want to, bring the implementation also and the usage also in one session. Okay, usage is very straightforward. You just have to decorate the API whichever you want to protect. That API should be decorated with two things: one is auth required, second thing is roles required. That's all. That is how you use it. All right, now you can create one API, you can create an API to actually register a user. Okay, let us try that. Register a user. All right, so I'll go to my resources. Okay, I'll go to the resources, and in the user API, what I'll do is, instead of get, I'll use post. Okay, instead of get, I'll use post, because when you register, you provide credentials, and those credentials will go to user, right? All right. Now, what I do is, I will retrieve that information when I'm using Flask RESTful. How do I retrieve information in request body? I can use something called as rec parse. Okay, rec parse. And then here I will create the variables or the arguments for the API. All right. So what I can do is, I'll just create parser equals to rec parse dot request parser. Okay, and then I'll use this parser object to create arguments. Okay, so it will be parser dot add argument. Okay, what are the things that we are going to take? Pretty much what we took here, right? When you created when you created user like this. So what are the things we took? We took email, password, and roles. Okay, email, password, and roles. I'll go to resources. Okay, add argument, email. Similar to that, three things we'll put: password, roles. Okay, these are the three arguments that I'm adding. What this basically means is, when you are sending a request, okay, when you are sending the request is expecting these three arguments or these three information to be sent as request body. Okay, that is what it means. And then this is how I mentioned that, okay, it is expecting these particular elements. And how do I use it? I'll use it in the backend here. I'll just show you. So I'll just write args equals to uh, parser, the same object we are going to use, parser dot parse args. Okay, dot, not comma. Parser dot parse args. So what happens? Whatever is provided in the request body, the values will come here into this endpoint. Okay, and then once they are in this endpoint, I can just use them wherever I want. All right. So here I'll use the same logic for creating a user the way I've used here, right? So I'll just use these two lines of code. Just copy from here and I'll put it in resource. Okay, if not app.security data store, but this email will be coming from the email of request body, right? So how do I do that? Args email, right? Because this, so see, I mean, whatever we are sending will be sent as JSON. So that JSON will be stored here. So this answer will basically be a JSON or a dictionary. Okay, so how do I, and dictionary with these key, email, password, and role. So how do I access a particular key of a dictionary? Args email. That's something like this. All right.
Dot email will work.
Dot email might not work because it is not an object. It is a dictionary,
Okay.
right? We are not sending object in the request body, right? We are sending a JSON which can be converted into a dictionary. That's so might sorry dot email will not work if it is an object. If we are dealing with SQL alchemy, then it will work, right? So that is what we check. One thing is this. Then second thing we provide is this args email. Okay, args email. Then password will be hash password, and within hash password I'll write args password, and in roles I'll just directly provide that list, right? Args roles. Okay, so this is how the particular element or object will be created, and then the db dot session dot commit. Okay, and then it should return something. So it returns a JSON with a message that user is created successfully. User is created successfully. Okay, and then it will return 201 status code, right? Because 201 is for created. If you want to create a resource in the database, it should return 201. So I'm just returning 201 as the this thing, okay, as the status code. Okay, and then we will have to club it to a particular endpoint. So what I'll do, API dot add underscore resource, API dot add underscore resource. The first thing should be the API which I want, the class which I want to connect it with, user API, and second thing would be the endpoint, right? So it will be slash add user. Okay, slash add user does not take any argument. This means this will be clubbed direct automatically. Okay, everything from week 6 of Mad1 is used here. Okay, now there are certain things that we have to import. First thing is auth required, roles required, right? These things have to be imported. So right from flask security, import auth required and roles required. But the thing is, I'm thinking, while you are just adding yourself to the application, you will definitely not have the token, right? So there is no point of auth required and roles required when you are registering yourself. When you're registering, you don't have the token, right? It is only when you register, then you log in, and then you want to go to any other endpoint, then you have the token. Okay, so I will remove these two from the endpoint, from the actual API. Okay, and when I remove this two, I don't need to even import it. Okay, now the other thing that I'm going to use is this, right? App.security. So how do I import app.security? We'll import from Flask, import current app as okay. All right, and then just for the sake of writing, I mean, see the way we have written here, right? With app.app context, we'll provide context here also. With app.app context, everything will be written within the if block. Okay, so what I've done is I have created an API that takes the information, user credentials for who wants to register as as JSON request body, and then creates it and stores it to the database. Okay, let us try this. See if there is any import error or something. Okay, let's see if the application works. No,
Sir, you have
so we'll have to change the
imported
property.
REQ parse. You have imported REQ parse.
One second. Yeah, tell me.
You have imported REQ parse for that.
Yes, rect parse. Yes.
So that you have used as
Here,
par. Okay,
I've
okay,
created that parser object.
okay. I got disconnected in between, so I could not.
Okay, what I did was I imported rect parse because can you mute? I'm able to listen my voice. See, so what I've done is I've imported rect parse. What is rect parse helping me with? If I want to submit some information with in the request body of the API, okay, in the request body of the API, then I'll have to mention that, okay, please expect that I'm using this, I'm sending this information in the request body. Okay, so what is that information sent? That information again will be sent in the form of JSON. Okay, so all the JSON meaning it is sent in the form of dictionary. So all the keys of that dictionary has to be defined as the part of request body. Okay, and how do we define that? By using this rect parse. Okay, request parser. It is called as request parser. Okay, and what are we trying to do? We are trying to parse the request object. Okay, get the information from there and use that information within the server. Okay, but the server should know what information should be retrieved. Okay, so what is going to happen? It is this is how we add argument to the parser, saying that when I'm going to use this API, this add user API, what I'm going to do is I will be passing on these three values as the key of a dictionary, and some values will be provided to that. How do you use that? You use it using this. So you need a parser object to first add argument and then use those argument within the API. Okay, so here I've added those arguments using add argument method, and here I've used those argument using parse args. So what happens? Whatever information I provide in the request body, that information will be stored in this variable called args. Okay, and what will be that information? That information will nothing but will be a dictionary with these keys, email, password, and roles, and the values whichever I'm going to provide. Okay, and then how do I retrieve those? Just like a
Parser,
dictionary.
the parser dot add argument can be in any
Parser dot.
parser dot add argument which you have
Uh-huh.
written. That can be in any order, no? It can be
Yes,
first
yes, yes,
parser.
yes, yes. Anyhow. Okay. Okay. Now let us try to use this. Okay. So it ran on 5006 endpoint. So what I'll do is I'll go to post method. Okay, I'll just create a new thing. Okay, I'll go to post method because that is what we have defined. Okay, it is HTTP 506 and the endpoint is add user. Add user. Okay, then what I'll do? Then I'll go to headers. No, I'll go to body. Okay, because I have mentioned that in the body I'm going to provide information. Okay, that information will be provided in the form of raw or JSON or dictionary. All right, so what will be that? Email. Okay, email will be, let's say, test 3 at the rate user.com. Okay, then we have password. Okay, so password will put it at, let's say, 54321. Okay, and the roles. Okay, and basically the roles is provided in the form of a list. Okay, so I will put it as instructor and student. Instructor, student. Okay, so these are the three roles that are going. Okay, this is my request body. Okay, so what happens when I send this request body, my with the help of rect parse, what happens? My application knows, or my server, the server that is defined on this endpoint knows that, okay, there is going to be a request body with these three keys, and I will have to use these keys with whatever logic that is written inside it. Okay, let us check. Did not attempt to load JSON data because the content type was not application JSON. Okay, let us check. Unsupported media type. Okay, let me just type JSON here. Okay, then it will make sense. Okay, JSON doesn't support single quotes. So let us try this. Yeah, some error now. Let us see. Hash password is not defined. Okay, hash password is not defined, right? So how will I do that? I'll just go to my resources.py and from flask security import hash password. That's all. Okay, save it. Okay, now let us resend it. Okay, again new error. str object does not have item assignment. Okay, is it because one second, let me check. Object does not have items assignment. Why is that? Let me just check with app.py. What did we provide there? Password and roles as single string only, right? Not an issue. We go to resources. Where is this error coming from? Let me check that. Okay. App.security.datastore.create user. It's fine. Hash password is there. Some issue with data store, is it? String object does not support item assignment. Okay, maybe something I did. Go to resources. Create user, email, password, roles. This is fine, I guess. Any issue with this? Type error. Type error. Is this underscore underscore self? Is it something like this? I am forgetting the one. Let me check. Flask rest. No, it's not. It directly. Okay, then what is the issue? Roles I find role RN. Any issue with string object does not support item assignment? Something must be. I'm doing a very simple error, I guess, in the Python itself.
What does this parser.parseargs return? Parseargs.
This parse arch basically retrieves. See, I mean, what is happening here? I've sent this information, right? I've sent this information as the request body. Where did I send? To this endpoint. Okay, so this endpoint should have something to retrieve this information. I mean, at the server end, what is this request meaning? I want to go to this endpoint with this information, right? Now I need to tell the server that, okay, there is some information coming in request body, retrieve it. So that retrieval is happening with this. Okay, parser.parser. So all the request body or whatever is there in the request body will get stored as a dictionary into this variable within this endpoint. Okay, so whenever I try to hit this endpoint, some information should go within the endpoint, right, or within the API. So that information is going within using this. Okay, this is how you define what should go, and this is how you define how it should be retrieved or where it should be retrieved. So this is retrieved within the endpoint. Okay, because if I don't retrieve this, this endpoint will not have access to the request body. Okay, that is what I'm doing. Now, what did I do wrong? It says it does not have assignment. What assignment is it talking about? I'm not sure. 921. Okay, not the line. So line number 20 it says app.security.data store. Yes, coming in. String object does not support item assignment. String object does not support item assignment. Let me just do one thing. Let me just print this what answers. See if you are getting the label correctly. Okay. Okay, here it is. Yeah. So here it is, right? This is
The
okay.
roles
See
are
what it does
just
it.
as without list, no?
Yeah, what it did is it just took instructor. It did not take the student and instructor. Why is that? That is okay. Maybe something it has to do with the argument. You can add string as the argument. I will have to provide type here. Type, but I want to provide list. So what should I put? List here. Let us see. Right. Okay. Okay. Name DB is not different. Okay, that was the issue. See what happens is I'll explain what happened. See what happened is whenever you create an argument by default, the argument is created as string. Okay. So this roles, the value of that roles is actually a list. That is the reason you have to provide. For example, if this password was an integer, I would have provided something like this. Type equals to int. Okay, and it is int meaning it should be a proper Python type. Okay, so I did type equals to list. This means now it is assuming everything as a list. Right now it says DB is not defined, which means that issue is gone. And okay, but what it did is something even bad, right? So it took roles as this, and it again took as instructor. Okay, it did that thing wrong. Okay, so what should I do to make this correct? We'll see that, not an issue. We'll see that not an issue, but I want this DB to be there. So what will I do? I'll go to my this thing resources, and what I'll do from dot, where is DB defined? It is defined in models, right? So from dot models import DB. Okay, so now DB is correctly set. Okay, now this will work, but the problem is it will still throw error because my instructor is not correctly taken, right? It is taken only from like this. So what I'll do, let us not do this. Let us not waste time in getting the correct thing. Just remove the roles entirely, or let me just put the roles directly. Okay, not coming from the object. Okay, and I think that is intuitive because I don't want any particular person who's signing in should decide who he wants to be, right? So I'll just put student. Okay, the default user of this application should be student. Yes, I'll save this. Okay, and then here when I actually make the request, I will remove this also. I'll remove the roles. So what is this doing actually? This is creating a new user with the email test3 password this, and role student. Okay, that is a default role. I'm not assigning it from here. Let's just check this. Okay, now it is created correctly. Okay, let me just show you the proper, right? The message is user created successfully, and you see the status code here. It is 201. Okay, now let us check the database. Yeah. So you see test 3 created, and the role of the person is should be there in roles table, user roles, right? So 3 3. This means the third user in the database is associated with the third user, right? It is not mandatory also, right? Even if I remove the entire roles attribute completely from that user, it would just create the user. It only that there won't be any entry in association table. Okay, so this is how you create a new user or register a new user with the help of API. Okay, is this clear? So what am I doing? I am using all the methods that Flask security provides, resources.py. So it provides data store, right? It provides that find user, create user, all those things it provides. I'm using that. And I'm using certain things that Flask RESTful provides, right? So to be able to write, the request body, to be able to provide a request body. And whenever you need request body, in what cases? Whenever you are providing information to the API, right? Very similar to how you would do things in the form. Okay, but now you can connect it with your mat2 project, right? So you create API like this, and how do you provide information to this API? With the help of form created in Vue.js, right? So you will be accessing this particular API, add user, and then the data should be form data, right? That is how you do it. Okay, is this clear? Any doubt in this endpoint that we have created? Okay, there was some issue with this. This also can be figured out. We will see how different types are provided. So that can be seen in Flask RESTful documentation. Okay, you can see argument parsing. You can go to argument parsing. Okay, and if you see this, you see parser dot add argument, rate, and type int. Okay, what are the possible types is something that we have to look at. Okay, should be. I think list works, but how it provides is something we have to check, right? List works. Okay.
Can't we give this the different requirements for this inside the URL only?
What different requirement? Can you just tell me one?
Uh, for example, you have done that you have added the user using the
Added the user here. Then what requirement?
email and password. Can't
Okay.
you give the email and password in the URL only? URL only.
I can. But the thing is, we should not provide email and password in the URL, right? We can do that, but then what is the use of creating? See, the thing is, till now when we were doing Flask, simple Flask, okay, and we did post method with the form. What we did, we were having a proper interface that is a form, okay, and whatever information we provided was directly going as a request body. We did not have to do anything. But when we are creating APIs, we have to mention everything, that what should go as request body, what should go as URL, and everything. Right. For example, if I want to, let's say, provide role in the endpoint itself. So what will I do? I will just write here something like this: role. Okay, role, and here I will be giving that variable like this, role. Okay, then this role should go as a list, right? So whatever roles I provide should go as a list. So I'll have to first manage the role should be as a part of list. Okay, so I'll just write role underscore list equals to, in the bracket, role. So are you getting this? So the role that I provided here is now going in as a list, and is this here, instead of providing student, I'll provide role list. Okay, role list. So what will happen now? How will I use this API? I will go slash user slash admin, something like this. Okay, so what will happen? This user will be added to the database by the role admin. Okay, so let us try again. Let's say test4 with the same password. Okay, and I want to give, let's say, any other instructor. not admin. There should be only one admin. So what will happen? This instructor will get into as a role. Let us try this. Okay, so message created successfully, and we'll check the database. User, you see test 4, and then if you see user role, you see 4 comma 2. This means the fourth user has got instructed. Okay, so the main idea is we'll have to make sure that whenever you provide roles, it should be provided in the form of list. Doesn't matter if it is one role or multiple roles. Okay, via endpoint I can provide only one role, right? So that's what I did. So I took the role, I converted into list of role, and then I provided the list. Okay, so you can provide as an endpoint also, not an issue. Okay, so that is pretty much it that I wanted to give today, to be able to use the same thing in APIs and create routes that are protected. Okay, same thing can be done in the protected to protect the APIs also, right? So if I want to, let's say, create another API to update an information, right? So to update an information, the user must be an authenticated and authorized, right? So I can just write a new endpoint with the name called put, because update is done by put. Okay, and then I'll write the logic at the bottom, but then I'll protect this particular endpoint with these two decorators. Okay, something like this. Okay, and then I'll write the code here. And return updated, I mean the return message can be something like this: message updated or user updated successfully, and you can return 200 status code only. Okay, because you're not creating any new thing. That's all. Right? That is how you do flash security.
Sir,
Okay.
here,
Now,
here, here,
how do you use this information? See, we were using our client, right? We were using this Postman as a client. How are we going to connect it with the front end? We will be going to use fetch. Okay, so I'll be using fetch, then this endpoint, and then I'll provide every other information using header. Okay, so that is it. Yeah, somebody was telling me something.
yes, sir, that's what I was asking. Suppose someone does not have Postman, then how he will?
Yeah, so see, I mean, see, Postman is just a client to test whether the APIs are working fine or not. But at some point, you'll have to connect it with the front end, right? So that connection will be done using fetch. So that is already covered. So you can just do it in fetch. How will you do it? I mean, I will not demonstrate now because then I have to create an entire view application. Okay, but maybe I can create one endpoint in view and then add it to the code. Okay, when I share the code with you. But see, for example, what I'll do is, let's say in the main block, I'll create a folder called static. Okay, within static, I'll create a file called uh, script.js, script.js. All right. In script.js, I will do things like fetch. Okay, so what I can do is let response equals to fetch, and then I will fetch to the endpoint that I'm going to create. Okay, what is the endpoint? Add user slash add user slash role. So that role we will provide as student only always. Okay, this is going to be my endpoint. Okay, then I will provide headers. Okay, in the headers, I will provide two important things. One is what kind of information I'm sending, right? What is the information? Oh, not colon, it is equals to, it is an attribute. What information I am sending? First thing is the application type, right? Or the information type. Okay, so the content type of the request, content type. And the content type is
Yes, sir.
application slash JSON. All right. And the other thing, I think that is all we need for the headers. Okay. Then how do we provide information? or we provide information. That will be data. Okay, data will be provided something like this. It will be dot JSON dot stringify JSON.stringify, and then we'll provide the actual data. Okay, this data is coming from the request body that we wrote here. There can be written like this here. Okay, I'll just copy it from here and I'll paste it here. Okay, just close it more. Okay, then data will be JSON.stringify. Okay, I'll just change this value to 5 because 4 is already there. Change this value to 5, and we have unique constraint, right? So we cannot put that. Okay, so what are we providing? We are doing a fetch call to this add user slash student. Okay, and headers this. All right, and what else do we need? I don't think we need anything else, but this needs to be embedded to an HTML document, right? So I'll just save this. I'm yet to write more. Okay, but I'll first embed it. So what I'll do, I'll create a very quickly templates folder.
Sir, my question, my very query here is, maybe it's a silly question, but um, here shouldn't you be posting content rather than getting, because you are pushing email and password. Here, are you saying that the user is already there and you are pushing this username and password? Or then it should
No,
be.
it's not there. We are creating a new user, right? So we are providing this data.
So this is the put. This is not a get.
It is a post actually. I have not provided method that I'll write now.
Oh, it's a post. Okay.
Why post? Because my API is defined in that way, right? My API takes or does this does this functionality when you are sending it with the post, right? I'll just comment this. So therefore, it is a post. And obviously, I mean, when you want to create new resource in the database, we'll do a post.
Yeah, because the endpoint said add user, so that's the
Yes.
reason I thought it should be post only. Okay, sir.
Yes. I have not provided the method. I'm yet to, make sure. I mean, I'm yet to utilize this response also, right? I just want to add it first. So what I'll do, I'll go to templates. In the templates, we'll create a file called index.html. Okay, index.html. We will simply embed this file script. Okay, so script. It is coming from static slash script.js. Okay, so it is coming from there. I'll just use this. Yeah, so now I'll just continue with the script. Right, so this is the headers. This is data. Once we're done with data, then we'll also mention the method. Okay, so method is post. Okay, so this is actually my complete request. So I want to make a fetch call to this endpoint, add user student. All right, with headers, content type JSON. The actual data is JSON.stringify this thing. The actual data, email and password, because that is what that is what my API is expecting to take, and method is post. Okay, so it is running with the post method. Once we're done with this, then we will do other things. Okay, so let us see what we get first. Okay, and then in the routes, I'll have to do something to run this index.html, right? So I'll do @amp dot get slash home, sorry, find home, return render template, index.html. So we can use once Jinja once to actually get to index.html. That is what is called as entry point of the application. Later on, you'll have to do view router. Okay. All right, and then I need to import render template, right? So from flask render template. Okay, and then again I'll change the port because I know it will not work. So 507, 5007. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just go to admin. Sorry. Oh, not this, right? 5007. 5007 will work, not. Okay, so something happened. Let's see what happened. Let's go to this and console. Yeah, so nothing happened, right? I mean, no error, meaning our request went through. Okay, request went through. Let's see. Test 4, test 5, not get added. One second, I'll just check what happened.
The endpoint is slash user add user.
Yeah. No, so we are doing a fetch call, right? See, what I did is I run the admin, sorry, I run the home dot index.html, okay, which runs this script, okay, and the script does a fetch call to, the script itself did a fetch call to this particular endpoint, right? So I don't have to mention the endpoint again. Something happened, let me check what happened. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll just do a console.log response and yeah. Okay, so the status of that response is pending method not allowed, right? 405 method not allowed, add user student. What was the method it used? Did I change the method somewhere? My routes, sorry, resources.py. It's still the post, and in my script method I have written post, right? Is it inside headers or outside headers? I think, okay, one second. The method should be, I think, inside headers. Let us try it inside headers. So headers content type JSON, data application, content type application. Oh, method should be outside only, right? Okay, one second. Check. Method equals to
Is it methods or method?
method only. I mean, methods is something we, when we mention, we are what are the methods allowable, but this is when we want to send it with a particular method. Should be method only. Let us check. So it says allow post options. This means that is getting accepted. Promise. Okay, anyway, let me just resolve the promise first. Dot then we have okay. Now the first promise is resolved. The second promise is method is not allowed for this request. Yeah. So see, the promise everything is resolved. I'm just not thinking about this thing proper. Okay, let me just check in the documentation. Okay, so we'll check the documentation of fetch. How do you provide method? Okay, fetch API, JavaScript. Some syntax error I must be doing. So async, make a request. Okay, method something like this, curly bracket in the double quotes and in as a capital method. And where is it? By the way, outside, right? Fetch. Then you have okay method is provided in some bracket. So is it a part of header or something? Let me just check. Okay. Second.
And instead of data, it is using body, I think.
No, data is also fine, not an issue. Because see, in the body, what are you doing is you're providing the data, right? It's not an issue. You can use body, you can use, and anyway, it is retrieving, right? So if you see the console of this thing, you are getting the data. Right? So that is not an issue. And what are we doing is console.log. So that is what we are logging. Anyway, let us use body method body post. Data is not defined. Where is data now? Okay. Sorry, one second. That is not. Headers. Okay, making post request. Okay, this will be more relevant. Method post headers.
Headers
What?
is without curly braces.
Hmm.
And
No,
method.
headers is without curly braces because you are getting headers. So you are creating headers, right? So you are creating it. So
Oh,
it is without. I mean, that has to be a string. So what I will do is put everything in curly braces. If you see this curly brace starts from here, right? So I'll put everything in curly braces, and see if you see this. This is provided as a object method colon post body colon headers colon, right? So that
everything
is
in
what.
one object.
Yeah. So let us do that. And it is going all in one object, right? So let us check. So header start from here. This is where it ends. This is where it ends. Then method, which is post, then body, which is this, and then you end the okay. Okay.
Headers also colon, no?
Where? Yeah,
Head.
headers. Okay. Okay. All right. So I think that is done. Yeah, created, right? So you got. Now we will see the database. I mean, okay. So I think I was making mistake with the fetch thing exactly. But now if we see, let us see the database. Yeah. So we got the test 5 created, right? So we will be doing fetch call to send. So actually it should be everything put in a single object. That is our script.js. Okay, so I've did a fetch call. Then everything that I wanted to, I resolved the promises twice because it's first the response that we are getting is going to be a promise. Okay, and then response.json will again send a promise that can be resolved again into a data. So two times I've used then. Okay, a better way and a very simpler way of doing this is using async await. Okay, async await is way straightforward and you can use it very similar to how you would use in Python, right? So I would suggest you doing that, try with async await, but this is one way, right? So what we have done is one thing we were missing was this, I mean the complete object. So it has headers, it has method, it has body and body every time. So if you change this, new user will be added, right? If you again try to do the fetch call, it will throw error. Okay, why? Because the unique constraint will get failed. Okay, so that is how. So this basically fetch will be one of your method in view. Okay, so if you are creating a view object, this fetch will be one of your methods in view, right? And this data will come from form data. This data will come from the V model, right? So you'll be creating a V model wherein you will be taking email and password. The moment somebody types their email and password, this will be populated, and this you will put in something like this. So data will be uh, this dot form data, right? And this is basically the data attribute that you're doing from the view. Okay, so this is something that you can try with your own, but the basic structure remains like that. Okay, is this clear? Okay, so this was just an interface, okay, because I just wanted to focus on creation of backend and then testing using this. But how do you connect it with the front end? Like this. Okay, so this whatever I've written in script.js will be nothing but a view.js file. Okay, any issues in this thing?
Please share the code.
Sorry?
Please share the code.
Yeah, share the code. I'll share this entire thing. Okay, that will be the part of it. And just test all these APIs with your own, right? Using either Thunder client or Postman if you don't have. Okay, so that is pretty much it. That is how you implement Flask security and uh, you know
Connecting both the front end and back end, do we have a session?
connecting. I think there is a project session on that. There will be a project session.
Okay.
Are you doing the project this time?
No, no, no.
Okay. Okay, then I'll share. I mean, in the event, the calendar event of this session, I will also share a session of project of the previous term where the front end and back end is connected. Okay.
Okay.
And if the time permits, in one of the future sessions, we can take if there are any doubts in this. Right? So we can take proper session where we'll be using Vue application to connect with the backend. And I generally don't use this denable form. I use async await. So that is straightforward, right? So we will use async await to actually create methods within the Vue object, and with those methods, we will actually add data from front end to back end. Okay, so that is there actually in one of the sessions. So I'll add the link to the session, which is one of our previous project session. If that is not clear, we'll take one session in the future. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but in quiz you don't expect questions coming from both backend and front end connected. Okay, because the thing is, if we here you see there is one piece of code here, right, written in the resources.py. There is one piece of code written in script.js. There is one piece of code written in HTML. Then you make the request. So it becomes very difficult to create a very concise question on both backend and front end. So you don't expect questions from there, either complete backend or either complete front end.
So I have a small doubt.
Hmm.
I wanted to know what is that Flask security zip file, sir? What is that about?
Uh, that was the first, I mean, that was the piece of code that I completed in the first part of this session. I mean, Tuesday session.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, so what I do now is when I zip everything else and create a Flash security part 2, you can only refer to that.
All right, all right, all right.
Okay, so this part has a set of basically it has that state of code when we just started this session.
Okay, okay. I thought it was a part of. It was like some Flask security library which I wasn't
No,
aware
no,
of.
no. It is just there in the same folder, so it appeared here. Okay, so I'll be sharing Flash Security Part 2 that you can refer to as a complete code of these two sessions. Okay. All right, then that is pretty much it that I wanted to give. Again, have a look at this session once again. I'll add the code and everything after this session ends. Okay.
Okay, sir. In the next 2 weeks, what are we covering?
Yeah. So now we will jump onto some additional part, right? So we are done with what is required of Vue, right? We're done with the Flask security. So at this point, and assuming that Flask and Flask RESTful is known to you, we can start working on project. So what do you say, the proper front end and back end part is done. Now we will jump on to back end jobs. Okay, so backend jobs will involve introducing to Celery, Redis, then sending mails, then what do you call as webhooks, things like that. So these are all advanced backend concepts that we will start off. Okay, so we'll start off with Celery and Redis.
Okay.
Okay, so now why do we need Celery in Redis is something will be dealt with when we start. But see, the thing is, what is happening at this stage is, let's say I have this backend, app.py, models.py, I have this complete backend. Okay, now what I want to do is, I have a button in my front end, let's say in my dashboard, admin dashboard. Okay, there is a button to download everything in the form of CSV. Everything meaning all the data about the roles, users, and everything that is there to download as a CSV. Okay, now downloading CSV is not a backend job, but it is a task that might take a lot of time. Okay, so for example, if you are dealing with a very this data has gone into, let's say, thousands of rows, or let's say hundreds of rows for that matter, and you want to download CSV. So what will happen if you click on CSV? Your entire application will get stuck there itself, unless and until that CSV part is done and downloading. Okay, so what do you want to do is, suppose here I am there on the front end, and there is a button somewhere here and download CSV, which downloads the entire data. Okay, if I click on that, what will happen is, till the time the process of downloading, creating the CSV, exporting it, and downloading is not done, your complete screen will be frozen. So what will happen? You will not be able to click on other buttons. You will not be able to navigate to other pages unless and until this part is done, which is a very bad for user experience. So what I want to do is, let's say I click on this button, download CSV, and the process of creation of CSV and downloading it goes to a different server, meanwhile not disturbing your actual flow of the server. What will happen? You will still be able to navigate to other pages and other things. You will be able to do multiple things while download is happening is at the backend, right? So downloading is happening at the backend, meaning to some other server. So this process of sending this some of the functionality to a different server is what is achieved with the help of Celery and Redis. Okay, so you have called as Celery workers to do job for you. These are called as backend jobs, right? So what is happening? Some job is happening at the backend, which is not done by your main server, but a different server. Okay, so to be able to send that functionality to a different server and come back to your original server is what is done by Celery and what is called as backend jobs. Okay, so you will be using Celery as a message broker. What is this term? We will clear later. Okay, Redis has the database to store this information, and Celery workers to get this backend job done. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is, let's say, when you use application, you see periodic mails coming, right? Do not reply mails. Are those sent by the developers of the server, or are those manually sent? No, right? Those are periodic messages sent. So to be able to share or send those messages or mails periodically, we again need some backend servers or workers to work with us. That is again achievable with the help of Celery. Okay,
Okay.
that is the second thing. And the third thing is caching. Okay, so we till now we were not able to cache anything. We were anyway doing things with the regular flow. If we cache certain things, the time taken by certain controllers to do functionality will reduce. So that caching will be done again. So that we'll see later. Okay.
Okay.
So these are the three things: backend jobs, scheduled jobs, and caching. These are the three, four major functionalities we'll see later in the upcoming weeks. Okay, so all right, we'll stop it here, and I'll share the code anyway. Okay, so we'll stop it here. Where is the Okay, I'll share the code, and hope you understood certain things from it. You can again, watch this session, try it on your own, and then get a grasp of it. Okay.
So
Okay
when
then.
will be the next session?
The next session will be on Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That
Okay,
will be
next
into
Tuesday, 8:30. We will be dealing with, I don't know the topic, but
you said
I'll
backend job, caching, and you also said one more thing.
yeah, backend jobs, scheduled jobs, caching.
The backend job. Okay.
All these things will be covered in the upcoming sessions.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay then. All right. So I will just close this session and okay, enjoy your weekend. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.